Hello, Bearing. I wanted to record a response to the video you put out yesterday, I believe it was, in which you discussed the really cringeworthy Christian rap. I'm not one to respond to YouTube videos. I rarely even comment, to be honest. I'm not one to get involved in that. I find the comment section of most YouTube channels are typically it's a bit like the toilet of the internet. So I steer clear where possible, but at the same time I think there are good conversations to be had, and so when I feel there is one to be had, I'll get involved. And I feel this is probably one of those opportunities. Before I launch into my response per se, I just want to thank you for the content that you put out. I was a subscriber pretty much as soon as I watched your first video. I found it very engaging, very interesting. I particularly enjoy your sense of humour. Although we share radically different worldviews, I find you very easy to watch and listen to, and quite often appreciate the rationale behind your side of the argument. Now, I particularly enjoy how you tend to go after people with very unstable and shaky worldviews, and critique them in such a way that leaves them with little to no choice but to fold. I like that. I really enjoy that. But as a Christian, I found your last video somewhat disturbing because it bucked the trend of the kind of things that you typically put out. Rather than offering any kind of critique or any kind of insight or polemic, you instead poke fun at a perfectly innocent, somewhat ridiculous video. And it's kind of like going after the easy target. I do not object to anybody sharing a different worldview to mine, and in fact I welcome it, and I welcome good, honest, open discussion about it. I think when people disagree but can do so amicably and put forward really good arguments for why they disagree, that's a fantastic thing, and I want to see more of that in the world. So I'm not against you critiquing Christianity in any way, shape or form. In fact, I'm for it, and I'll happily engage with those kinds of videos in the future. But I think whenever you argue against something, it's always best to present the thing you're arguing against in its best possible light. So that you're always arguing against the strongest opposing argument. That way, you're just much more plausible in what you're trying to convey. It's more well-rounded, and it's so much more professional. I know that this isn't a professional environment or anything like that, but it is just a much better way of doing things. I know I'm slightly rambling on here, and to be honest, it's your channel. You put out what you want, but I would be really interested to hear your critique of the Christian faith and even other faiths, even faith and theism in and of itself. Very interested to hear that, and I'll probably engage with that, and maybe even get involved in the conversation. But go after the harder targets, please. Don't go after the easy targets. There's a channel that I watch quite often, Jacqueline Glenn, and she does the same thing. She will go after very narrow-minded Bible Belt Americans, and there's a wealth of thought out there, especially when it comes to the philosophy of our existence and what's beyond, and if anything at all is beyond. I think if you're going to argue against Christianity, go after the Christian apologists, go after the theologians, and it'll be a much more interesting conversation. I'm certain of it. I appreciate your time in watching this. If you haven't, never mind. I appreciate what you're doing. I want you to keep up the good work. It's really interesting, and it certainly keeps me coming back. So awesome. Good chatting. Bye.